Hey guys, hope you are well. I wanted to get something out today, and I had a question come in yesterday, and they said, they've obviously been watching the vlogs of me traveling around, speaking at various events and things, and the question was, what is it that you actually speak about? Which is a good question. So I think in order to answer that, I need to just very quickly, I could talk about this for hours, but I need to talk a little bit about who I am and what I've done, and then I'll talk about what I talk about. So I used to race bikes years and years ago. I raced motorbikes, that was my hobby. I raced most weekends. To cut a massively long story short, I had quite a nasty accident, and I couldn't walk for about half a year. I was in, it took quite a long time to get better. Now, ever since I was young, I had this dream to try and row a boat across the Atlantic Ocean, but I never had the guts to do it. I think I was probably scared of failing, if I'm honest. So I thought, right, I'm gonna do it. I wanted to do it with someone else. No one would do it with me. So I rode on my own, and it was tough. It was tough getting to the start line, and it was tough believing that I could do it. But actually, when I was out there, it wasn't that difficult. So it took 110 days to get across. It was a long time. I had a lot of bad weather, but I kept going, and eventually I got across. During my preparation for the row, I also met someone who was rowing across the Atlantic, and he asked me if I wanted to, thanks guys, cars had to stop for me to walk across the road. During my preparation for the row, I met someone who was also rowing across the Atlantic. We just became really good friends, and he effectively asked me out to climb Everest with him the following year. Now, I didn't have a huge amount of climbing experience, but I had a little bit, and I had just rowed across the Atlantic. So the guy that took us out there took me out there because he said, if you could row, oh shit, it's pouring with rain here, but it's still a lovely day. I overheard someone earlier saying, it's a miserable day. A miserable day is when you are lying in hospital and you cannot walk. That is a miserable day. If you can get up, regardless of whether it's raining, it's grey, it's cloudy, if you can get up, you can breathe, you can walk, you can see, you can talk, it's a bloody good day. I'll tell you that for a fact. Anyway, I digress. So anyway, I got the invite out to go out to Everest. I managed to get on the expedition because I'd rowed the Atlantic, and the chap said, well, if you can do that, you can do this. Managed to get to the top on the 16th of May 2011. It was a tough trip, it was hard for me, I struggled. But what's hard for one person may not be so hard for someone else. I managed to get back down. I was quite ill when I got back home. I spent a week in hospital, and I got myself better, and I decided I was going to cycle around the world the following year. So I did. I got better and I cycled around the world. I didn't want to be another British lunatic sort of fulfilling my own dreams. Hold on. Do you know what? It's quite, your arm really aches when you have to hold a camera up for a while. I didn't want to be another British lunatic sort of fulfilling my own dreams. So, and at that point I was doing a lot of work in schools with young people. So I decided that I was going to speak in a school in every country I visited. And I managed to do that. I spoke to over 10,000 young people as I went around the world. When I finished, I got quite lucky. There wasn't a lot going on in the media. And the media picked up on the fact that there's like 8 billion people on the planet, and no other person, I think this is correct to this day, I don't know, I don't really care, but no other person has achieved those three things. So no individual has rowed an ocean, summited Everest, and cycled around the world. Media picked up on that, and my kind of profile went up a little bit. And then it was strange, because before I knew it, I'd accidentally fallen into a different life. I set out to row across the Atlantic, but I did not set out to do anything else. It just happened. But I say to the kids, you know, when you find out what you love and what you're good at, and I found out I had this knack for somehow surviving and telling stories, take that and run with it, and you'll never do a day's work again in your life. So I kind of fell into speaking, and I think really to get to the question, what is it that I speak about? Well, I talk about what it's like to row across an ocean, go up Everest and cycle the world, and I share lots of really good footage that I shot and pictures. But it's not a lesson on how to climb Mount Everest or how to row across the Atlantic. It's really, I tell the story, but it's really what I learn. So what did I learn from being out there? So I speak about, you know, the persistence and what it really took to get across an ocean. You know, I talk a little bit about the teamwork. It's the sort of, whilst I was in the Atlantic on my own, there were a lot of people, you know, who were at home sort of supporting me. And I talk one of the main things I talk about is how to raise the funding. That is the hardest part. So I talk a little bit about how to obtain expedition funding or any funding, and what I learned from doing that, and how, I'm just gonna put my bag down, and how that all sort of came together. I'm gonna rest the camera here, that's easier now. So I'll talk a little bit about that. I'll talk a little bit about the people that I met when I went around the world. Just human beings. There's a lot of bad stuff that you read and you hear about in the press, but human beings are incredible. So many people were so kind and so good to me. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about the accident that I had, and the time it took me to get better. And I talk about what I learned from having the ability to walk taken away from me. Luckily I got better. I learned a lot from that. And really, I don't really like the term motivational speaker. I just tell a story. I tell a story with what I have learned mixed in. And so far I haven't been kicked off stage yet, so I just keep doing it. You know, speaking is subjective. I really enjoy doing it. For one person, I may be a good speaker. For another, I may not be. I don't really know. All I know is it pays my bills. I enjoy it. I'm doing more and more, and I love it. So, guys, that's kind of what I speak about, really. A whole sort of range of subjects, and it's what I've learned. It's what I've learned from being the only guy on the planet that's rode an ocean, summited Everest, and cycled the world. That's what I talk about. It's what I've learned, and effectively how you can apply that to things that you do in your everyday life. So I hope that answers your question, guys. As you can see, it's raining. It's not that great. I'm gonna get home now, but I've got a really busy week ahead of me, so I'm gonna bring the camera. We've got a whole load of stuff going on. I'm up in Birmingham tomorrow. We've got a big radio interview, doing some stuff up there. That should be fun. And I've got a few exciting meetings going on, so watch this space, guys. Right, out for now.
For you I can say